Welcome to the workbench, be it your first time or a return visit. I'm starting work on the Klawndyke T-Trak module today. First things first, I need to get the track installed on the module. The module comes not only with markings showing where the tracks should go, but also the track item number burned into the wood for easy reference, as well as pre-cut spaces for the feeder wires. By the way, if you'd like to pick up some Klawndyke module kits for yourself, I have a discount code for you. JLRR5 for a 5% discount. These kits can be purchased from Klawndyke.com. The module being worked on here is a single N-scale T-Trak module. If you're unsure about trying your hand at a T-Trak module, all I ask is that you come along for the process here and give it an honest look. I genuinely believe it's well within most people's abilities to do this. Back to the feeder wires, which supply power to each track individually, they are considered optional for single-width modules such as this. I'm going to go ahead and install them here. This is done with powered Uni Joiner packages from Kato. These kits include a tool to remove the regular Uni Joiners from the track. You slide the tool over the joiner from the side, slip the joiner into the teeth of the tool, and with a little force, they pop right off. T-Trak wiring standards are simple. The Uni Joiner wires are blue and white. From the front of the module, the wire order should be blue, white on the front track, or red line, and white, blue on the back track, or yellow line. It's a system that makes reversing loops easy on modular layouts. Once the feeder wires are properly installed between the two track sections for both main lines, the wires get fed through their respective holes. Now to secure the tracks. To make sure the separation between the two tracks is correct, I attach a short section of Kato double track to each end of the tracks. This will keep them at the right distance and orientation. I then make sure the tracks are in about the right place. The distance from the front edge of the module to the edge of the red line track should be 1.5 inches, and I verify the rough placement with a ruler. A tip from another Jimmy, the guy at the DIY in Digital, about using silicone caulk to bind the track section to the module has stuck with me, and that's what I'm going to use here. The white glue used for scenic cement later will also ultimately bind the track as well. I lift the tracks, lay down a bead of caulk where both sides of the track section will lay, and place it down. I keep going until I have enough to hold the track in place, but not so much that it's bulging everywhere. I did scrape some excess caulk down with the ruler, making sure to wipe it off immediately after. I also took the opportunity to verify the track placement one last time with the ruler before allowing the caulk to do its thing. I needed a big, heavy object to hold the track down while the caulk dried, and it turned out I had just been using such an item. The module really is a blank canvas now. I'm starting to fill in some of the pieces of the scenery base. I'm going to build some hills this time. The base of the hills will be made with insulating foam. These are all pieces I have cut from a project board I got from my local Home Depot. I cut a large triangle out and cut a few more bits down from that. Please, be careful with box cutters. I suspect my technique may not have been OSHA approved once or twice here. After a good deal of trimming, and tossing some of the scraps onto the pile as well, I glued all of the foam together with white glue. There are many glues you can use. I just used this because it was at hand. This is where I leave the module to sit and dry for a day or so, but not before bringing a little friend onto the module to see how he stands up to the rest of the little world. Fast forward a couple days to when I next have time to work on the module, and I mix up some Sculpt mold. I'm going to place this over the foam board and make the actual surface of the hills. I start on the left side, but you may notice I only cover part of the board. I will explain in due time. I then continue to the right side of the module, and one small batch of Sculpt mold at a time, I build out the terrain shape for that hill in its entirety. Once I have piled enough Sculpt mold onto the module and formed it the way I want, mostly using a plastic spoon, I step away and let it dry for a day or so until I can come back to it. Hang in there, Bob. We'll have some happy little trees before you know it. Now to give the module some color. A base color upon which I will place the turf, at least on part of the module. First off, I mask off the tracks so that I don't paint it the same brown color I'm painting the rest of the ground. On other module builds, I painted before adding track, but this will do fine this time. The brown paint goes on, and I get to work with a brush. Honestly, this is a part of building a module I really enjoy. My grandmother was a painter though, so maybe it's just in my genes. Where possible, I try to work the brush in an almost circular motion, in the same way that doing this with a toothbrush drives the bristles and toothpaste into those hard-to-reach crevices in between your teeth. It drives the paint into all the little divots and imperfections in the hardened Sculpt mold, eliminating those little white pockets one at a time. Sometimes getting an angle right for filming can be tricky, but I think these videos are worth it all the same. I film these projects for two reasons. One, to share what skills I have learned in doing these modules, and two, to encourage others to try their hand at building T-Trak modules. These modules may be a little intimidating at first, but they're great little projects to learn on. Being only a little larger than a square foot, any mistakes, or happy accidents, are confined to a small area where they can be learned from. Modeling is always a learning experience, intended or not. While my skills may not be terribly impressive to a master model railroader, they are my own. Just as skills you will learn while taking on little projects will be your own, along with your own creations in miniature. While I'm at it, I paint the sides of the module as well as 2/3 of the front and back. It will all come together. I also mark off the other side of the module and paint that, keeping the line between the painted and unpainted wood crisp. I do this so that when the module is connected to another, the dark color will help ensure any gap between the modules is a little less noticeable. Coming back once again after some time has passed, I move on to the scenic base. I start by ballasting the track on the right third of the module. This is done by painting some white glue on the track to start with, then pouring the ballast in place. I try to sweep the ballast into the places I want it and to do some basic shaping while I'm at it. I follow the ballast with a base layer of turf. The method here is pretty standard fare. Paint white glue onto the ground where I want the turf to stick, and shake the turf onto the glue until it is sufficiently covering the ground and paint. There are many different kinds of turf out there, everything from purpose-made turfs to this stuff, which I got at a Hobby Lobby. Many of them come in shaker bottles that make application easy. Once the base layer is down, I shake on a more vibrant green color to give the ground cover some variety. This stuff is from Woodland Scenics. Now to start populating the scene. I take a pin vise with a small drill bit and drill a small hole in the terrain. Then I take a little tree from a package, put some white glue on it, and plant it in the hole. I repeat this until there are plenty of little trees on the hillside, much to Bob's satisfaction. Now for some large brush. I pull off pieces of clump foliage and dab them with a little glue, then place them wherever I think they would look appropriate. Every modeler uses a slightly different method for placing greenery, but my method is just to place it wherever my mind's eye says it would look good. To fill the last of the gaps, I take some coarse turf and sprinkle it around to simulate weeds, undergrowth, whatever you may find small and low to the ground as greenery goes. There comes a moment in a module build when I know I am ready to glue everything down, and that moment is when I can't find any more holes in the scenery that need filling. It came quickly this time as I was only doing full scenery on 1/3 of the module. The process is straightforward. Start by soaking all the turf, ballast, and foliage down with isopropyl alcohol. Then, once everything is thoroughly soused, soak it with some sort of scenic cement. Woodland Scenics makes some, but I follow another DIY and digital tip of a 50-50 mix of water and white glue. The alcohol breaks the surface tension and allows the cement to flow right into everything. After a while, I noticed the cement and alcohol was starting to run down the side of the hill and pool on the level portion of the module. If there was turf and all down there, it would be fine. But in this case, I figure I'll set some paper towels down and absorb some of it so it doesn't pool and harden on the bare paint. Once I have everything well soaked, I just let it sit for a time. While it's drying, I secure another piece of foam and plant 3 more little trees in it. I want these to appear like they're living in the foam block for now, getting ready to be planted. Now I step back and let things dry. I come back to find Bob here surveying the scene. He's happy with it if we are. I'm going to touch up the brown paint beneath him though. The alcohol running off the hill stripped it down a little. Once this last round of paint has dried, the time comes to give our little friend Bob his permanent place on the module. I tried simple white glue, but that didn't hold. Something happy accident? I went another route. I drilled a couple holes in the module and used a piece of scrap wire to hold the figure's feet to the module. This way I can remove the figure as needed, but otherwise it should be a pretty sturdy hold. And here it is, the finished module. Instead of a scale miniature scene, this module is intended to be a couple things. First is a look at how the scenery on these modules or layouts is done, and second is a salute to the creative process for modular model railroading. From left to right, the module captures the process of building scenery from placing foam and plaster to adding paint and scenic items. Many of the same principles Bob Ross applied to his painting also fit very well into the process of creating a miniature scene. To borrow a few quotes from Mr. Ross, "This is your world. You're the creator. You can put anything you want on your canvas. All you need to do is practice." All of these perfectly fit the creative freedom that can be found on one of these little T-Trak modules. The two previous modules I built were simply named based on their geographic features, the Florida module and the Field module. This one, however, deserves a title. I'm christening this module Happy Little Trains. If T-Trak modules appeal to you, even a little, I would strongly encourage you to try and build a couple. They're wonderful. I'll bring my code from the beginning of the video back up. From Klawndyke.com, use code JLRR5 at checkout for a 5% discount. Before you know it, you'll be on your own happy little modular adventures. Now, if I may borrow slightly on Mr. Ross's sign-off, happy modeling, God bless, stay safe out there, and enjoy the world's greatest hobby.